Jake Humphries, Platinum Sports Picks. I've only got 15 minutes to talk to you guys about the first bunch of NFL games just because I've had some complications with the website that I've been using, but 15 minutes is better than no minutes, and this is going to help you guys get a bit of an insight on the reads that I've got going for these games. We've got 5 o'clock games starting this morning, and then I believe we have 8 o'clock games and 8:25 games, etc., etc., and then we have a main game at midday. So basically last time I spoke to you guys on the air, we were doing horribly, but now we're plus 0.5 stakes and we're doing much better. It's so good to see. It's so good that now I can sort of market this as something that's been very, very good over the last 2 to 3 weeks in particular, and we're just going to look to keep moving forward and keep cruising and keep doing well. I'm going to start top left on covers.com. I'm going to go all the way down. The first game is the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to the Baltimore Ravens. The Steelers are a 1-point underdog. The Steelers are 4-3 and the Ravens are 3-4. Something that's interesting about this game is that Steelers star quarterback Ben Roethlisberger will be a true game time decision. Obviously, if Ben Roethlisberger was playing in this game, the Steelers would be, if he was definitely playing in this game, the Steelers would probably be a 3-point favourite. However, because he is questionable, it's keeping that line a little bit enticing for potential Steelers bettors anyway. I'll definitely be keeping my eye on whether Ben Roethlisberger is going to be playing, and maybe I'll be able to get an early jump on that news, but I do think that this is a pretty tough game to pick even if he is playing. The Ravens generally play these AFC North matches very close, especially when they're at home, and they'll be looking to kind of bounce back and hold things down. They're 2-5 against the spread overall, and they're 1-2 against the spread and straight up at home. So I think they'll probably be ready to put their best foot forward for this one after a few dysfunctional performances. So to answer your question, if you do have a question about who I like in this one, the answer would probably be no one. I'm kind of looking at who the public are liking to bet on right now, and it's actually a little bit hard to determine that just because of the Ben Roethlisberger question mark. But I think that if I was going to pick anything, I would probably take the Steelers, but I'm not going to just because I don't know who the quarterback is going to be. Next game, we've got the Dallas Cowboys playing at the Cleveland Browns. The Dallas Cowboys are a 7.5 point favourite. This total has gone from 46.5 all the way up to 49.5, one of the biggest line movements of the weekend. And I can see that there is actually a surprising amount of volume on the Cleveland Browns. Yes, we've got quite a few tickets on the Dallas Cowboys, but a lot of the big sum money is coming in on the Cleveland Browns, and that really doesn't surprise me that much. I think this could be a bit of a letdown spot for the Dallas Cowboys. They had a very, very emotionally taxing overtime win against the Philadelphia Eagles last week, and now they're going on the road to play a team that is 0-8, 2-6 against the spread overall, and 0-3 against the spread at home. The Dallas Cowboys are 6-1 against the spread on the year, but I do think this is a bit of a tricky game for the Dallas Cowboys, just because, it is a tough game. It might be a little bit hard for them to get extremely motivated for it, and the longer the Browns go without a win, the more they're going to want to win, obviously. And, the Cowboys have got a couple of niggling injuries to players. Barry Church is injured, Morris Claiborne is injured, Orlando Scandrick has been carrying a bit of a hamstring problem. Like, they've got players who are kind of struggling a little bit. And the Cleveland Browns are looking, relatively healthy. At least they have a bit of consistency or a bit of stability in the quarterback position now with McCown playing there. I'm not sure if the Browns are equipped on either side of the football to keep this one close, but I definitely think that +7 is something that I could be looking at for the Cleveland Browns, so I will keep you posted there. Got to move on to the next game. We don't have a lot of time. The Jacksonville Jaguars playing at the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs are a 7.5 point favourite in this one. They're 3-0 at home, but they're only 1-2 at home against the spread. They're not too good at covering the big number at home. I don't like this game at all because Alex Smith is out. The Kansas City Chiefs quarterback will be missing in this game with a concussion. And I think that that's going to make quite a big difference. Nick Foles will be the replacement. He did play pretty well last week in relief at Indianapolis, but I'm not sure how he's going to go start to finish. This Jags team is, I would say they're underperforming, even though the Jags aren't someone who you would normally associate with winning a lot of games. At 2-5, I think that a couple of people, including, I certainly expected them to be playing a little bit better. The record of 2-5 isn't that surprising just because it is so hard to win games in this league. But I think the way they've lost some of these games is what's, really thrown me off the most. The Jags have been poor, and I'm not ready to take them to cover numbers on the road. To not so much to cover numbers, but to keep a game close on the road against a Chiefs team that is pretty deadly. when you talk about their defense, it is good. They've got quite a good supporting cast around Nick Foles. He's going to have all the help that he needs, and I think that you could see him play a pretty solid game. He may only manage the game, but I think he'll get enough for the win, and I've really got no idea if they're going to be able to cover the 7. I'm going to leave this one to you guys. The next game we're going to look at is the New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins. This spread started at -3 for Miami and has since gone to -4. I actually like the Jets in this game at +4. I'm actually a pretty big fan of Ryan Fitzpatrick. He has played. He's played 7 quarters of football in the last 2 weeks. The Jets started 1-5 after a loss in Arizona. Ryan Fitzpatrick was benched. In the first quarter against Baltimore, Geno Smith was injured. Ryan Fitzpatrick has come in since then, and he's led them to 2 victories, albeit over the Ravens, who were poor in that game, and the Browns, who are probably the worst team in football. Wins are wins. And at 3-5, the Jets are still in that must-win territory, and the Dolphins at 3-4 may be as well, especially with the Patriots in that division doing quite well. So I think the Jets and the Dolphins are both going to be desperate here. I think the Jets are a better team. Nick Mangold, their starting centre, he's listed as doubtful. Buster Screen, I'm not sure if he's going to be playing. So just a couple of players that are very important. Muhammad Wilkerson, he's a very important defensive end for them in that 3-4 technique, and that 3-4 scheme rather, and he's a very important player. So I'm going to need to figure out what's happening with these guys. But I do like the Jets as a bit of a lean. Let's move on. Detroit Lions +6.5 at the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to have to go through it quicker because unfortunately I've only got 8 minutes left. But I think the Detroit Lions are value in this at +6.5 just because of how bad the Vikings were on offense last week in Chicago. I try not to tell myself this too much, but there is a hell of a lot of money coming in on the Detroit Lions. It makes me think this game could be a little bit trappy, a little bit suspicious. Why is this line 6.5 and not 3? It's a bit, or not 3.5. I actually capped this game as the Vikings -2. Too good to be true. When I'm confused about a line, normally I don't go anywhere near it. It kind of bothers me, kind of troubles me when I'm looking at it. So yeah, I'm not too sure about this one. We're going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles New York Giants match now. The Giants are a -3 home favourite. The Eagles are a 3-point dog. We're seeing a pretty even split of money coming in on both teams, to be honest with you here. Probably with a slight bit of an edge towards the Philadelphia Eagles in terms of who the public are liking. The Eagles had a really tough loss last week. I think the Eagles are a better team than the Giants. I actually like the 3 they're getting here. It's something that I could look at a little bit later on. I'm probably not going to lock these picks in for another 3 or 4 hours. Marathon for me on Sunday, just because I'm just constantly looking at these lines and constantly trying to figure out who's going to be in, who's going to be out. But I think that if you're going to ask me, Jake, who are you leaning on so far? I think the Philadelphia Eagles would probably be in that group. I'm capping them right now as being a better team than the New York Giants. I think they've got a better defense. I think they've got more offensive weapons. Granted, the Giants have Odell Beckham and Victor Cruz. The Eagles have Darren Sproles, Jordan Matthews, Zach Ertz. They've got a young, quality rookie QB. Their offensive line is excellent. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are a better team than the Giants, and I think that if we can get a nice number, it's something I might look at. Next game, Carolina Panthers at the LA Rams. The Carolina Panthers are, they got a big win last week against the Cardinals, even though they dropped off a little bit towards the end. I don't like this game at all, man. That Panthers defense is so bad. And I just think that, even though the Rams have Case Keenum and QB, who's maybe the worst starting quarterback in the NFL, they still have a really legit defense. And they've got a couple of guys on offense who can make a difference. Todd Gurley, Tavon Austin, and people like that can really trouble the Carolina Panthers defense, it's really playing. That defense is doing such a bad job lately. They're a far cry from what they were last year, and I can't trust them at all. And covering points on the road, I took them to cover 2.5 on the road a couple of weeks ago against the Saints. They lost outright. I'm not keen on doing it this week. Speaking of the Saints, they go to the San Francisco 49ers, where the 49ers have gone from a 3 to a 4.5 point dog. The 49ers are completely untouchable right now. They're the worst team outside Cleveland. The Saints are 3-4. They're 3-0 on the road against the spread. That's impressive. I actually don't mind the Saints at all, man. I think they're well equipped to beat the 49ers here, but think there's going to be a hell of a lot of volume happening today because I really don't love any of these matches. Indianapolis Colts going to the Green Bay Packers. We've got 4 minutes 44 seconds left, so I can, we've only got 4 games left, so I can probably afford to slow the pace up. This game's a very interesting one. The Packers and the Colts are both playing pretty poorly. The Packers were unlucky to lose last week. They still have a 4-3 record, so excuse me, guys. They will think that with a win here they can get themselves back on track. It's not panic time for the Packers just yet. I mean, they do have a positive record. I think that this line, Colts. But I can tell you this game is a very, very 50-50 split game. I can't split them in regards to who's betting on who. It's a very closely contested game in Vegas anyway. Both sides are getting quite a bit of action. I actually like the Packers. The Colts, I have the Colts touted as probably they're one of the worst overall teams when you look at position by position. They have some really, really, really big, obvious weaknesses on their team. And I think that Andrew Luck can only do so much. When they're going on the road here, playing against the Packers, who are 2-1 against the spread at home, they are going to be pretty pissed off after losing to the Falcons last week. I think this could be a bit of a match where Aaron Rodgers just kind of has his way with that Colts defense. The total here has gone from 53 up to 54.5. I don't really know if I like the over in that game just because this Packers offense has been so different to what we've seen in the past years. They're having some problems rolling the ball down the field. They don't have a running back now because Eddie Lacy's out for the season, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't really look to be on the same page with Nelson and Cobb and those guys. So, yeah, not too sure what to think of this one. Just to let you guys know, I will be leaving out the Monday Night Football game, which won't be on today. So we've got 3 minutes to talk about a pair of games, and I think we'll talk about the last game a lot because I like it. Just quickly, the Tennessee Titans at the San Diego Chargers. This is the second last game. It's on at 8:25 a.m. The Tennessee Titans are a 4-point away underdog. The Chargers are a 4-point home favourite. Now, the Chargers have a 3-5 record. I think the Chargers are the best 3-5 team in football. I love Phillip Rivers. I love Mike McCoy. I think the Chargers are a working class, they're a working class deserving team. They do a good job week in, week out. They're very, very unlucky to be 3-5 and not 5-3. They've had a bunch. The Titans right now are 4-4. We have a pretty sizable. Well, we only have a one stake futures bet, but it was one of my more confident futures bets. The Titans to win over 5.5 games currently, and we also have a bet on the Titans to win the AFC South at $11 to 1. They are currently 1 game back in the division, and they can potentially snag the lead of the division or an equal lead if they can get a win against the Chargers here. I think this is a bad spot for the Chargers, and I'll tell you why. The Chargers have had 2 very tough road trips in a row. They've been to Denver, and then they were somewhere else before that. I can't remember. Let me have a very quick look with the limited time that I have. In Week 7, the San Diego Chargers played in Atlanta. So they had an OT win in Atlanta. Then they had a loss at Denver. Now they're coming back home. A lot of people will tell you, myself included, the first game back from a road trip often feels like a third away game. They may be a little bit tired. The Titans have had a couple of home games in a row. They're well rested. They played the Jaguars on a primetime slot last week. They've got 10 days rest. They're coming in here. The 4 points is a healthy start for the Chargers, or the 3.5 rather, depending on what book you're looking at. I actually like the Titans in this one, and it may be something I'm going to look at. The last game, the best game in my opinion, is the Denver Broncos at the Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders have gone from 2.5 to 1, which means there's a bit of support coming in for the Denver Broncos. I'm going to be honest with you, I like the Raiders in this game. I have a good read on the Denver Broncos. From what I've seen from the Broncos over the last couple of weeks, they are getting closer and closer to another bad performance, like the one that we saw when they were playing at San Diego. I think this offense is pretty bad. Last week, they were lucky to cover the 2.5 number against the Chargers. They got a lot of tip balls intercepted. They had a lot of the bounces went their way, man. I think this Denver Broncos offense with Trevor Siemian is nowhere near as good as what the Raiders have going on with Derek Carr right now. I know the Raiders have played a couple of road games, and I just spoke about it's hard to come back home after a couple of road games, but I think this Raiders team is legit with a legit head coach and a super legit offense. Their defense is getting better. I think the Raiders are going to make a big statement win in the AFC West. That's what I think about all of the games today. I'm going to come back later with my official picks. Talk to you later.